Hey everybody, it is me, James John from Crying in My Car, and boy, do we have a great episode for you all. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the arts in school. That's right, and why they're so important for a child's development. It helps them get ahead, and it helps their behavior as well. They're going to be talking about a karate dojo. That's right, a student was there so long that they eventually followed in their master's footsteps and had their own dojo created. They're going to be wrapping things up with substitute teachers, an outsider's look in what goes on every day in a classroom that parents may not know about. All this is going down right now on the next episode of Crying in My Car.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Devin Siebold, and then I got James Jan over there, and we're here to hopefully ease your workday. Now, we are independently owned and operated. We have bought out a franchisee, and we are looking for your support. Don't forget to find us on patreon.com/cryinginmycar to keep this thing going, and also share. You're like, I don't want to subscribe to anything. I don't feel like, okay, you don't have $1 or $5. That's great. Share it for us. Let us, people know, tag us, say, I watch Crying in My Car. It's the best. And they're back and they make me laugh. And that's what we're here to do. Now, don't forget as well to hopefully join me on a comedy experience. I've got a lot of tour dates coming up. I'm coming to a lot of schools too. Maybe I'll see you there. But I always think it's funny. I always joke about this at the shows, James, because we always start off with a 7:30 show.
Yeah.
On like Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll sell out. And then we open up a 3:00 show. And you know that the people that bought the 7:30 show see the 3:00 show open and they're like, no. Like, I just picture like a whole bunch of Dr. Claus, like, next time, Gadget. Next time, because it's like you had the chance to be in bed at a reasonable hour. I'm so sorry, but if you bought tickets to the 7:30 and then the 3:00 show opens, maybe call the venue and ask if you can switch.
Why is that the goal for everyone when we hit our 40s?
Oh,
I want to
early.
be in bed early.
Early.
I don't want to be out late. No, I want to be in the bed early.
Yep. I wanted to go see Madonna on her tour.
Yeah.
And I Googled it just to find out, is it a good show? And everybody's like, amazing show. Stupendous. Oh, she goes through all the hits. And I was like, man, I can't wait to go. And they're like, also, she starts at 11:30 at night.
Ooh.
And I was like, next time.
Next time, yeah.
Next time. And I'm
How?
like, why?
11:30?
You know what else she does?
What?
I don't know if you know this, but you can Google it. She starts at 11:30.
Okay.
And requires that the arena she's performing in shut off the air because she wants it to be a warm dance club environment where everybody's sweating. And I just turned 40 and I never want to sweat again in my life.
No, you don't. No.
I was like, what are you doing? I'm not doing that.
Devin,
so
I have diabetes. I sweat at 11:30 p.m. regardless.
Yes.
Okay. So.
That's true. It's usually because we're at Waffle House after the show.
True.
But
It's very vigorous there.
All right, James. You were talking about something today that I don't know if you know is near and dear to me because I actually taught at a school of the arts for several years.
We never talked about that.
Yeah, so let's jump into this discussion today. I saw it on your itinerary, and I was like, he doesn't know.
I don't.
He doesn't know me.
Look at that. I apologize. Well, Devin, I'm going to tell you something right now, and this is for all the parents out there too. If you're ever thinking about sending your kid to a school of the arts, I say do it. My kid, Devin, my oldest, did not attend a traditional high school. He went to a school of the arts, and it was an amazing experience for him. And let me tell you why, okay? A report by the American for the Arts states that young people who participate regularly in the arts, about 3 hours, 3 times a week, they are 4 times more likely to reach academic achievements that are higher than most kids.
Yep.
Yes, because they learn discipline. They learn they have to practice. It gives them patience, focus, all those good things. So that really helped my son out. And they say that the arts are important because it actually teaches kids how to problem solve by thinking outside the box, because they get used to tapping into that creative side and not thinking of things on a linear kind of scale. They can like look at it from a different perspective, which will allow them to have a better chance of actually solving the problem.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, the creative side, you said that word.
Creative.
I love creativity.
Okay.
I feel like we have sucked it all out of the schools. And in the arts realm, I feel like we reintroduce it, and you see a notable difference. Now, I taught at regular public school, and then I taught at a school of the arts.
I did not know this.
The students there were not different. I will say that. Everybody, these schools of the arts, they think, oh, man, these are the advanced kids. These are the, smarter kids. These are the...
Not necessarily, no.
I didn't find that was the case. I found like they did better in school because they were able to exercise their creativity throughout the school day.
Correct.
And activate a different part of their mind other than the mundane going from class to class, absorb, repeat, recite, higher order thinking. This just activated something that's in us. We love to create.
Yes.
I know that we love to create because I spend a living creating, and it's the most exciting thing in the world.
And rewarding.
I would have students come in from guitar class, and they would sit down, and I would notice a distinct difference than kids coming in from math class.
Yes.
It was so much easier to reach kids that were just in there creating and learning and building something. And it was night and day. It really was. And I know that's as a society, I don't know why we've abandoned the arts. I mean, it just needs to be such a big thing. And we would see so much more success. We would see so much more beauty. We would see so much more happiness. It's wild, but I don't know if you know. So I taught I was a counselor at a summer camp.
Okay. I did know that.
I was a counselor at a summer camp. Now, this summer camp was pricey.
Okay.
Very expensive. Kids there were very wealthy.
Okay.
The parents had a lot of money.
Okay.
Now, interestingly enough, what do you think all those kids do? All of them that I follow online. I follow so many of them online. And I see them growing up and doing big things. And what do you think all of them do?
Some kind of art.
Yep.
Okay, really?
All of them do some kind of art. And the reason we do some kind of art, I think that in a perfect world where money is not an object, we then go, what can I do then? I'm not excited by buying things.
No.
I'm not excited by going places.
No.
We go, I'm excited by creating things.
Absolutely.
I like creating things. I think as humans, we're just naturally inclined to create beautiful things, whether it be music, whether it be writing, whether it be, painting, whether it be, it's so wild, but you see these people that have done it all. I mean, look at George W. Bush. He's sitting in there painting,
yes,
and he's creating art.
Good for him.
Even prisoners, they have no direction to go. They go, I have no future. I'm going to create art.
Yes.
And prison art is a massive thing.
I was going to say, I've seen some of their art. Yeah. They go in not knowing they had that creativity because no one's ever shown them that way. So then they find out, I'm pretty darn good at this.
Yeah.
And they end up coming out and selling a lot of their stuff and then having a new career path that doesn't involve hitting someone over the head and going back to jail.
What's wild is we do a lot of comedy, obviously.
Yeah.
And a lot of these comedy classes are lawyers.
Yeah.
They are.
Yes.
A lot of these comedy classes are people with a lot of money. And you go, you have all the money in the world. What are you doing in this dank bar?
And that's my question.
Trying to make jokes.
And they answer the same way.
Well,
I want to be creative.
I want to. I this is my creative outlet.
Yes.
And it's so wild. I enjoy this. Man. It's so wild how we steer towards that. Yet the kids, we put this roadblock up, and we go, we're taking away your art. Your art teacher is on a cart.
No funding.
There's no funding here.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. And then we go, why are the scores going down? Well, they're not exercising what they want to do, the creative bone that they have, and it's frustrating, man.
And here's the thing that really got me was I realized this as I was studying this actual article. We use the arts very early on in every kid's life. You realize that?
Yeah.
When they first start learning, what do? Nursery rhymes.
Yep.
To teach them things. We use it with Colors, Sesame Street, all those different shows for one reason, to educate. Then we stop.
Yep.
We stop using the arts. Why go away from that? If it works in the very beginning, don't you think it would still work throughout? As this society goes on, that we get further and further away from it. And here's one thing that I found interesting also. A study of Missouri public schools in 2010 found that found that greater art education led to fewer disciplinary infractions.
Yeah.
And higher graduation rates and test scores.
So I taught at a school that we had a lot of outside of the arts. This was not at the art school. It's a regular public school. We had a lot of disciplinary issues.
Absolutely.
I did a lot of art in my class. I would do any chance that I got. I tried to have at least one, even if it was just a day of art project in my class to go with the curriculum. Like I would say, we're going over prohibition, create your poster, or your protest sign.
Yeah. Nice.
Create your World War II propaganda. You build this. And I'd give them, I had so many markers and crayons and everything like that. And I'd let them do art. And you know what? Those days were some of the most easy classroom management days because the kids go, I can tap into something different,
Absolutely.
and have some fun with it. And it was wild to see the creativity. Yeah.
So in closing for me, man, any parent out there thinking about sending their kid to the arts, school of the arts, do it. It's not going to be bad. The experience is going to be pretty great for them. You're going to see a more focused child who's going to want to learn more and go to school. Yeah,
and I have to say this too. Don't forget of so sometimes school of the arts are like magnet schools, extra school. They don't have the public transport or the transportation for the school buses, and that's a lot of deal breakers for parents. We're sending our kid to a school of the arts, and the whole thing was every day we're going to have to drive 40 minutes and drive 40 minutes back, and so went out of our way to find parents that were in that school and carpool. You can make it happen, and carpooling especially is
we talked about it last episode.
Yeah, we talked about it last episode, but that's ideal.
Yes.
So there's ways,
to get them there.
And teachers also, don't forget, you're like, I'm not an art teacher. That's okay. They still need social studies at School of the Arts, and I had a lot of fun teaching at the schools that I taught at.
It's a pretty amazing experience.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, teachers in the news. Teachers in Teachers in the news. This week we got some interesting ones. One of them. I was aware of this gentleman. I just really wasn't aware of the extent at which this man is being held. In Russia, there is a history teacher.
Okay.
He is currently being detained. Yeah. He's been detained for quite some time, actually.
Okay.
Apparently, this Pennsylvania teacher was leaving Russia, was getting on a plane, and had some medical cannabis on them. And the Russian authorities said, you can't have that. And he said, well, I have a prescription for it. And they were like, I'm not a Russian prescription for it. Don't. And they said, so we're going to have to detain you. And that particular teacher was sentenced to 15 years in prison in Russia. Still detained.
15 years.
15 years. And officially, the reason it's in the news now, this actually happened a little while ago when they were detained and arrested. And it was officially labeled by U.S. officials as a wrongful detainment, and now has the State Department's highest attention as to we need to get this person back. That we thought they would be like in a hostage exchange recently, but we didn't get them. They're still there.
How long have they been there?
I think they're going on like 7 or 8 years.
Oh, my God.
15 years in prison.
Well, this brings up an interesting point, Devin, about traveling with medical grade marijuana. Like, you just can't go to every country with that.
No.
I mean, didn't Brittany Griner go through the same thing about 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, and I think was sentenced to
the same amount of time. Yeah,
gotcha. There was a interesting story, a humble story about a karate teacher. Okay, this karate teacher was once a karate student and decided that as they progressed through the ranks and got older and graduated, got black belt, said, you know what? I want to follow in the footsteps of my own instructor and decided to open up their own dojo in their honor.
Sounds good.
That's amazing, isn't it? So it was a heartwarming story about a karate instructor that became, or student that became the instructor. The student has become
the master. There you go.
To be honest with you, he decided to open up the dojo just to get a chance to beat his teacher's ass in competition. He was like, now we compete. Honestly.
Was the name of it Cobra Kai?
It was.
Okay. Got it.
The irony here, and you're like, why is this teacher related? Because all the teachers are in the self-defense classes now.
That's true.
It's just
true.
Everybody's a teacher in karate.
So did he beat the teacher? Really?
No, but I hope
good.
so.
Oh.
Yeah, you always want to get a chance to. But the thing is the teacher, they're the teacher for the reason.
That's true.
They're
pretty good.
Sometimes you got to show the kids what you got. All right, teacher, this in the least surprising news, Connecticut had a survey go out, and turns out teacher job burnout and dissatisfaction are at an all-time high. Least surprising news. It increased 1% over last year.
Really?
And you're like, well, that's good. It didn't go up too much. Well, it went from 97 to 98% are dissatisfied and stressed and burned out.
Yikes.
98%. 98%. And the thing here is the 2% that aren't were the ones that were actually assigned to administer the survey. They're like, we don't have to be in the classroom.
Yeah,
this is great. Yeah. So, yeah, man. And it's wild because it's, the Northeast, you think, hey, it's fine. Yeah, everybody thinks like Northeast teachers got it made, but
no.
To be honest with you, there's a lot more pressure.
That's what it is.
There's a lot more pressure up there. Down in the South, they don't put as much pressure on you. They're just used to being ranked 48th. Which
is horrible, man. Good Lord.
Yeah, somebody's got to be ranked 48th. So, yeah. All right. This next one. This one deserves a little bit more discussion. Okay. I read this and immediately sided one way, then finished the article and maybe sided a different way.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. In New Hampshire, they're actually passing a law. That law states that teachers cannot give student rides outside of school hours for anything that is not like specifically assigned by the school and in their car. Now, when you were growing up, there a lot of teachers, hey, you need a ride? Sure, man, I got you. Oh, I'll give you a ride home.
I would have teachers stop by my house. Like they were like considered a family friend. That wasn't anything out of the normal.
Right.
Of course, like I'm thinking back, hey, you're walking home from a movie, we saw your friends. Hey, you guys want a lift? Of course, Mr. Johnson. Thank you so much. That's
right. Now, why are they passing this? Obviously, most laws are reactionary.
They are.
What happened? What happened? So here's what happened.
No.
There was a teacher that was fired after they drove their student to get an abortion. The student asked for a ride, and the teacher said, sure, gave them a ride, and the teacher was fired immediately for that.
Let me ask some questions, some follow-up, some discussion.
Hold on.
Okay.
So the teacher was fired. The teacher is suing to get her job back. I thought this was open and shut. Like, I read it, and I was like, why would you do that? But here's why the teacher is fighting to get her job back.
Talk to me.
The kid's 18, not living with the parents, does not live at home.
It's an adult.
That's an adult.
Yes.
So I'm reading the article and I'm like, no, you don't. Why would you ever drive a student to do something like that?
Uh-huh.
And then my second thought was, when I finished the article, I go, well, they're an adult. They could have got an Uber.
And where they did it, it's legal to have abortions, correct?
So they were driven by the teacher. That's somebody that you trust. That's somebody that was probably there for you and supportive and
And they did it on their own time.
And they said they were not. The vibe that I got, and I don't want to state that this is a fact, but the vibe I got from reading the article is that the kid did not get along with the parents.
Of course.
Yeah.
Or feel comfortable
so
enough
this was now a parental figure for them and was there to support them through their tough decision that they had to make.
So I can't find one legal reason why they would fire that teacher.
That's why they're making one.
Oh, I get it. I get it. It's reactionary.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think about her losing her job. That's not fair.
Yeah,
she
did
was nothing
fired
wrong
right away. And I think it's just, you don't want the press. I think that's what the school district was doing. They were like, oh my gosh, this is going to make the news. A teacher drove his child to get an abortion. The news outlets are going to run crazy with this. And
sure,
they did.
And they did.
And they immediately fired him.
But the bad part is, and I think most of the decisions made by teachers, good ones, in fact, she had good intentions.
I think saw it was my just student trying to support the student.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And it's going to backfire.
And again, I don't know the thought process here. I don't know what happened. I don't know the story, but it's also an 18-year-old.
That's an adult.
That's an
adult. They can make their own decisions. And I gave an adult a ride.
Yeah. I
can't lose my job over giving an adult a ride to something that's legal.
Here's the interesting thing. This is what I kind of wonder too. A lot of teachers drive for Uber.
Yeah.
In the afternoons. What if a student shows up? I mean, a lot of these towns are not big. A student needs an Uber ride, and
I just happen to be
you just happen to be in there. Suddenly, you're violating the law. Are you? I mean, I don't know.
I don't think you are.
Yeah, it's just it's a gray area.
Now,
I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions. Here's two dudes discussing.
As a parent, I would probably be upset.
Yeah.
Here's why. If I don't get along with my kid and I are not in a good place, and then you make a decision like that, and I'm not involved, someone else is your parental figure, I might have issue with that morally.
Sure.
But legally, I don't think they have a leg to stand on.
I don't think they do either.
No.
I think the teacher will probably get her job back.
I think so too.
But that's why they're passing the law so that something like this doesn't happen again. Now, what I think it will eventually do, though, is hurt the students, because there's probably a lot of students out there who are family friends who do have, hey, can you grab my kid in the morning on the way? You're going to the school.
Makes
Can
sense.
you pick them up after basketball practice? I mean, especially coaches. Oh my gosh.
My coach used to give us rides all the time.
All the time.
Yes,
I can't tell you how many times I rode in the car with the coach because it was just easier. And it's after school. There's no bus transportation. I mean,
and he lives where you live. It just makes sense. So now you're going to take that away from kids.
Unfortunately, it's one of those things where we see something that's in the news and then we think we need to punish all of them.
Everybody.
Last thing I would like to talk about. This is not teachers in the news. This is just something that I would like to discuss. It's an interesting article that I read from a substitute teacher, and it's why public schools struggle to teach. And this substitute teacher, outlines everything that they see from an outsider's perspective.
Okay.
Somebody that comes into the classroom and goes, what's the problem here? And I don't know. I think it's an interesting perspective. They wrote this. It's on dailysignal.com. It says that it seemed when she first started teaching that things ran pretty smoothly, but she noticed some underlying things that are kind of hurting. One of the first things that she sees a problem with is, and it's interesting, there's no way that a parent can know what goes on in the classroom. The substitute teacher sees that as a massive problem as to why schools are failing, is that parents aren't aware of what's happening in the classroom. Now, I don't think this perspective is, I'm not aware of what's being taught.
I get it.
I think it's more, I'm not aware of how my child is interacting.
Correct.
I can see that perspective.
So can I.
The second one is the system makes it very difficult for the parent to help a student. Most of the curriculum now is turning to computer-based, and it basically cuts the parent out of the equation. A lot of it can only be done in school on the school laptops. I experienced that because I don't know if you know this, but you remember when you read and you get AR points?
Yes.
Yeah, AR points. The school district cuts it off at 3:00. And so this AR points have to be done in school.
Yeah.
Well, I can't help my kid with
if you're
their
teaching,
reading, I can't go, hey, read, and then take that AR quiz after school. And I don't know if they're just trying to avoid cheating or whatnot, but I'd like to be more involved in what they're reading and how they score points. And I mean, to be there and cheer them on.
Yes.
We did find a workaround, by the way.
How'd you do this?
It cuts off at 3:00. Well, every Wednesday is early release.
There
so
you
the kids
go.
come home and they got an hour where it's still open online.
Okay.
So we're like, okay, do it. And then they get the points and we're like, yeah, you did the points, and like you celebrate. But like everything is on the computer. With my kids now in elementary school, a lot of the stuff they get is like packets and things like that to send home. And you know what we do? sit down.
Yeah.
And we go over it.
That's what we did.
And we work together, and we go, all right, so what did you get here? How did you find that? Write down this. Don't be sure to answer that, And I think that the computer-based curriculum is taking a lot of the help that teachers can give out of the equation, or that parents can give out of the equation.
Hard to be involved or engaged.
Yep. And another thing about the computers, this is their third point. They said that they noticed that heavy over computerization. So for a long time, schools weren't into computers, and now I think they're going too heavy into computers. And it says it's not helping, it's hindering the learning process. There's a lot of neuroscience that shows the effort of writing with the hand intrinsically enhances and reinforces the learning process of the brain. But these kids are seeing dominating smart boards and Chromebooks.
Yes.
And even she says that I was in a 6th grade class, and they had to fill in the words as the teacher was talking on the notes. Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
But every time the teacher said the word, that she would click on it and it would pop up on the screen. So you didn't have to actively listen.
No.
You just had to wait for that word to pop up and then write it down. And it's not activating the correct as far as writing.
You're not going to retain it.
Yeah, going in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So another one. This is the interesting one. It says that this really caught me. What happens in the classroom is no longer about learning. It's about controlling behavior.
I can see that.
As a substitute, it said, I appreciate any notes that the teachers would leave, but a lot of them revealed distress. It's no longer the substitute notes that she would get have steered away from, here, do this. This is what you should do. This person, just so you're aware, leaves a little early, to this is going to be a problem. This is the discipline area. These people talk to each other. You need to separate these two. This one, call their mom if there's an issue. It's managing student behaviors rather than the curriculum. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like it wasn't about conveying knowledge. She said it was about controlling behavior.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's tough.
That is a tough one. She said that she noticed that the thing about the behavior is that the power of balance in the classroom is now in favor of the student more than the teacher. It seems to be that way, but one of the things that and again, this is just a person's opinion, she said that the interesting thing that they had to do with the trauma coaching, assuming that 30% of your students have experienced some sort of trauma, you're automatically assuming that any student's bad behavior is immediately linked to that trauma, and the student is not held responsible. It's the trauma. It's not the student.
Yeah.
And she says, and I'm going to read this paragraph entirely because I was like, oh my goodness. Therefore, we were told that a teacher must not overtly try to correct a student's behavior. The example was given, a teacher should not say in a stern voice, sit down and be quiet, but instead ask, is there something I can do today to help your day go better?
Wow. That seems highly ineffective.
So, yeah, and she says, so when a 7th grade boy is shouting obscenities at me because I told him to move to a different seat, I'm supposed to dialogue with him and explain the harm he's doing to his peers by preventing them from paying attention. Meanwhile, the rest of the class watches. Nobody learns what I'm actually supposed to be teaching, and none of the curriculum is followed. So, I don't know, man. Interesting to hear a substitute teacher's point of view going around to different classrooms, gathering info, you see as a teacher, you kind of got these blinders on and you go, this is my class. This is what I see happening here. But now with a substitute, they've gone around the schools and they're reporting back, and they're saying that some of the problems are students having too much power.
Yes.
Teachers not having enough power to reinforce behavior, and behavior being the controlling factor of the classroom.
I will say this as a parent. If you take away consequences from a child's life, then they're going to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They're not going to just self-correct. So if you have, as a teacher, if I can't tell a kid, please sit down, I have to then ask you, what can I do at this moment to make your life better and easier?
Yep.
Bro, I don't know how they expect you to teach with a blindfold and your hands tied behind your back.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're doing.
I mean, sometimes it's really hard because I get that some students have been through trauma.
Absolutely.
As teachers, I think maybe we lean sometimes too far into the assuming that there's trauma there instead of just going, hey, let's not do that behavior.
Yeah.
That's not an okay behavior.
Yes.
I see it all the time in like teacher groups. Sometimes teachers go, I'm having a problem with this student. And literally teachers will make up an entire scenario. Do you realize that student could have been in an accident 14 years ago and seen something traumatic, and maybe this happened, and maybe this is why they're acting?
Yes.
And you go, okay, so you're giving the kid a way out, and now they're just going to keep doing everything that they've been doing, and none of this behavior is getting corrected.
No.
I understand that there are, certain situations, and I think those should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, but sometimes, man, and they assume, and they have the best interests in their hearts.
They do.
The best, they want to assume that there's some sort of higher authority thing happening here. This can't possibly be how the child is. This can't possibly be the way. And sometimes you go, you know what? Maybe we should discipline this child. Maybe there needs to be some reactionary.
And I'm going to say this. It's not all the time, but most of the time, kids are what we let them be. Mm-hmm. They'll go as far as you let them go.
Yeah.
So you have to rein them in. I'm not saying scream at the top of your lungs. I'm not saying physically abuse them. But no, a stern, no, you need to stop this or this will be the consequence.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh, nothing wrong with that. I mean, and yeah, I agree. All right, James, how can people find you online?
As always, you guys can find me on social media at James Yan Comedian. That's on Instagram as well as Facebook and now TikTok because it's about to go away.
Yep, and we would love your opinions. Anything that you saw in this episode, be sure to comment down below. Create engagement. I'm not beyond begging. We're out there. We're trying to make this work on our own, and
yes, we are.
Be sure to subscribe on patreon.com/cryinginmycar. Also, share, hit like, hit subscribe, let people know I watch Crying in My Car. I love it. It's my favorite podcast, and we can't thank you enough for tuning in. Yes.
Hey, for the price of a cup of coffee, you can keep 2 comedians from being homeless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyways, thank you again for supporting, and we'll see you next week on a brand new episode of Crying in My Car.